My name is Shannon Beatty, and this is my final presentation for the Spring 2015 Marketing Management course. I opted to complete the MarkStrat project individually. While my company did not perform well overall, I was able to achieve some of my goals, and I gained a better appreciation for marketing concepts along the way. In order to share my observations in a thoughtful manner, here is an agenda of the topics I will be covering. First, I will discuss my company's results in the MarkStrat world, and then I will share the lessons learned from my participation in this project. I will conclude with how the simulation allowed me to apply the marketing concepts addressed in this course. The Leo Company operated in the Berlin industry. Leo's stock price initially experienced 27% growth to $1,270. This growth was followed by a declining trend, with Leo's stock price falling to end at $693. Overall, the stock price suffered a disappointing 45% decline. Similarly, Leo Company initially ranked third in the Berlin industry, later declining to the fourth position and remaining in fourth through the remainder of the project. Over the course of the project, Leo Company supported up to 4 brands in 5 different market segments. The original 2 brands were Loop and Lock. Loop was the stellar performer, starting with nearly 23% market share in the professionals segment, with a goal of attaining 25% market share. Loop exceeded expectations and grew to achieve 29% market share in the professionals segment. While becoming the second popular brand in the professionals segment, Loop was also popular in the Explorers segment, achieving the top spot in this segment by the end of the project. The Explorers segment was the smallest and had a negative growth outlook. Therefore, the Leo Company did not actively pursue this segment. Lock faced increasing competition in the Savers segment. Competing against 3 other brands, Lock suffered declining market share and was withdrawn in period 3. Leo Company requested and was granted a $5 million loan in period 2, with funds used to develop 2 additional brands, Lots and Loot. Lots was launched in period 3, and Loot was launched in period 4. Loot faced steep competition in the high earners segment, was unable to achieve market share above 10%, and was withdrawn in period 7. Lots competed in the shoppers segment, also facing stiff competition. While Lots is deemed an underperformer, not achieving the goal of 25% market share, this brand was starting to show signs of improvement in the final period of the project. Now let's look at the lessons learned by Leo Company. Starting with Leo's keys to success means focusing on the Loop brand, which demonstrated positive performance overall. 4 research and development projects modified the Loop brand. These modifications targeted the professionals segment's ideal values for brand attributes and also achieved the desired brand perceptions. The Leo Company used the perceptual maps to measure the success of these modifications. The Loop brand maintained positioning near the professionals' ideal. Leo Company also monitored the financial performance of Loop, which maintained positive earnings throughout the project. Loop's positive earnings consistently helped to mitigate the losses experienced by Leo Company's other less successful brands. Production decisions contributed to Loop's success despite several instances of stockout. When deciding how many units of Loop to produce, the Leo Company anticipated continued growth in the professionals market. Shortfalls that led to stockouts most likely resulted from the unanticipated popularity in the Explorers market, which favored Loop in later periods. Additionally, both the advertising media and research budgets bolstered the Loop brand. While the media budget achieved brand awareness above 70% by the end of the project, the research budget only rendered an average message in the end. Although there were periods when the advertising budgets underperformed, Loop's market share remained on an increasing trend overall. Finally, even though amounts allocated to the commercial team were initially below desired levels, eventually the proper distribution channels were established. By consistently making commercial team decisions last, available funds were often too scarce to allocate appropriately. In the later periods, Leo Company ensured proper funding for a sufficient, well-balanced team. Leo Company ultimately achieved its goal to attain a competitive presence in the marketplace. Now let's look at what could have been done differently. In other words, what would Leo Company like to do over? Leo Company could have better planned for the loan, including the loan amount. Approximately $3 million of the loan proceeds were allocated to R&D projects for 2 new brands, increased advertising, and commercial team expansions, leaving $2 million unused. Later periods were unable to maintain increased advertising budgets, expanded commercial teams, and loan payments. Leo Company cut back on advertising and commercial teams, then slowly had to catch back up, while competitors were able to achieve and maintain robust advertising budgets and commercial teams. In hindsight, a smaller loan should have been requested and only 1 new brand developed, which would have left sufficient funds available to build advertising and distribution channels with a sustainable commercial team. With larger advertising budgets and commercial teams, both Loop and Lots would have experienced better brand awareness, better message quality, appropriate distribution channels, and ultimately increased market share. Leo Company did not give significant consideration to consumers' purchase intentions until the later periods. If this market research data had been considered earlier, the insufficient advertising may have been corrected even sooner. While Loop ultimately achieved 30% consumer purchase intentions in the professionals segment and 17% in the explorers segment, Lots' consumer purchase intentions did not gain any traction until the final period when 8% among shoppers was achieved. Finally, the Leo Company also faced stockouts, which meant consumers that were unable to purchase Leo's brands likely purchased a competitor's brand. For Loop, better production decisions and less stockouts would have resulted in market share surpassing the initial goal of 25% more quickly and achieving the stretch goal of 35%. Similarly, Lots would have been able to accelerate market share increases in the last period if a stockout had been avoided. The Markstrat simulation allowed the class to apply the marketing concepts addressed earlier in this course. In discussing how the Leo Company applied these concepts, the focus will be on the 2 brands that existed at the end of the simulation, Loop and Lots. Beginning with segmentation and targeting, the simulation enabled students to work with concepts discussed in Chapter 7 of the text. The simulation used behavioral segmentation to distinguish the customer segments. The descriptions for these segments identified the needs and purchasing behavior of the customers. This approach demonstrated a needs-based segmentation that grouped customers according to their needs and the benefits they wanted from Markstrat's electronic product. As part of the marketing team for the company, students were able to determine which segments to target. Students were able to consider segment attractiveness via the market growth data provided by the simulation. Students could also consider the competition imposed by rivals with market research information on customer awareness and purchase intentions. The perceptual maps also aided students in evaluating what brands were likely to meet the needs and preferences of the various customer segments. The Leo Company relied on the market segmentation information provided by Markstrat to determine which customers to target. For example, the Loop product was actively marketed to the professional segment, which initially was a growing market segment of substantial size. While also popular in the Explorers segment, the Leo Company did not allocate significant funds to market Loop to Explorers because this segment was small and expected to shrink in later periods. Shifting to McCarthy's 4 Ps, the simulation provided an opportunity to explore product, price, place, and promotion choices. With regard to product, the students were able to distinguish brand features, design, size, and name. Relying on the simulation's description of the customer segments, students were able to select product features and quality to align with the target segment's needs. By ordering market research studies, students gained access to tables that provided each segment's perceptual maps and ideal values for product attributes. These tools allowed students to initiate research and development projects for new and modified products. Students could choose to incur the added risk associated with launching new products or opt for less risk by improving established brands with modifications. The Leo Company developed the Lots brand, which was launched as a new product in period 3. Additionally, both the Loop and Lots brands were modified during the course of the simulation. Chapter 10 of the text identified 5 product levels: core benefit, basic product, expected product, augmented product, and potential product. Expected products target the customer's normal expectations. Leo Company intended to provide an expected product with the Lots brands for the shopper's market that desired average performance and convenience. Augmented products exceed customer expectations. The Leo Company aimed to provide an augmented product with the Loop brand for the professional segments who wanted high quality and high performance. Turning to pricing strategies, the simulation allowed students to balance the need to generate sufficient revenue with consumer expectations in making price determinations. Chapter 12 of the text discusses how price is an integral part of the market positioning strategy and how price should vary among different brands and in different market segments. The simulation created an environment that encouraged students to make pricing changes in each period if needed. Again, market research studies in the form of conjoint analyses allowed students to consider pricing expectations of each market segment when making pricing decisions. The Leo Company attempted to price the Lots brand in the middle of the shopper's market segment because these customers are price sensitive. This strategy was challenging to maintain because if the price was too low, then the revenue would not cover the cost of producing the Lots brand. The Loop brand was priced at the high end of the professionals market because this segment was not as price sensitive. In fact, the professionals segment associated lower prices with lower quality. The Leo Company explicitly did not want Loop priced at the bottom of this market segment. Loop was priced above this segment's ideal value, even though price was considered to be an important product characteristic by professionals. Fortunately, this strategy did not hinder Loop from achieving its market share goals and being profitable. Place refers to making a product accessible to customers. In the case of the MarkStrat simulation, students managed the marketing or distribution channels for each brand. The products in the MarkStrat simulation were offered in a consumer marketing channel that allowed each manufacturing company to select the appropriate retailer in order to connect with potential customers. Students decided on the size of the commercial team for each of 3 available channels: specialty stores, mass merchandisers, and online stores. The simulation applied distributor margins based on the perceived level of service and volume sold by each distribution's channel. These distributor margins impacted pricing and resulted in multi-channel conflict when one brand was sold in more than one channel. The primary distribution channel for Loop was specialty stores, which were favored by professionals and carried the higher-priced performance products. The Leo Company emphasized growing the Loop commercial team for specialty stores before expanding the commercial teams in the other distribution channels. The primary distribution channel for Lots was mass merchandisers, which appealed to shoppers and offered low prices and high volume. Like with Loop, the Leo Company grew the mass merchandising team for Lots before expanding the commercial teams in the other distribution channels. The simulation also encouraged students to explore an e-commerce channel with online stores. This distribution channel included stores that operated as pure-click or web-only merchants, as well as brick-and-click merchants that had both physical and virtual locations. The final P is promotion, which is how a product is communicated to stakeholders and to the public. The simulation afforded students the opportunity to make advertising decisions that applied the promotion concept. Furthermore, students gained a sense of how to build brand image. In MarkStrat, advertising decisions included allocating funds to both media and research for each brand. The amounts spent on advertising media built brand awareness among consumers, while amounts spent on advertising research influenced the positioning of a particular brand. The Leo Company found it necessary to expend significant advertising funds for both media and research when launching a new brand such as Lots. Nearly as important was maintaining a sufficient budget for marketing communications to build awareness of existing brands and to communicate modifications of existing brands, which was the case for Loop. Brand awareness and message quality suffered when advertising funds were reduced. Continual increases to the advertising budget were needed to regain awareness and improve message quality. Beyond allocating funds, students were also able to apply advertising funds to appropriate market segments. By identifying and targeting specific market segments to receive advertising funds, students practiced effective communication. The Loop brand in particular reaped benefits from this activity as funds allocated to the Explorers segment led to greater than expected market share increases. Students also faced challenges of remaining on budget while allocating appropriate funds to marketing communications. All in all, the MarkStrat simulation complemented the text and was a valuable learning tool. The ability to experience both successes and failures in the simulation worked to reinforce the marketing concepts discussed in the text. The believable scenarios engaged students and demonstrated not only the consequences to decision-making, but also the important role played by marketing in the success of a company.